Hello, hi, I'm Opal Mitchell. I work for the Central Arkansas Library System and I work at the Nixon branch in Jacksonville. And tonight for the Crafting with Opal program, I'm going to be teaching crochet for beginners, and it's just going to be the basic stitches, the beginning ones like the chain stitch, which is the foundation row that you have to do before you can do anything else. And then I'll show you how to do the single crochet, and also if we have more time I'll show you how to do some of the other stitches, but those are the main ones I was going to cover tonight. It just depends on you know, how fast the class goes and if people want to see the other ones, and at the end of the program I'm going to do a drawing, so if you come, stick around to the end, and I'll get everyone's name, and then I'll do a quick, it's not really a drawing, I'm going to roll the dice, put a number next to your name, and then roll the dice, and whatever number I get will win a $15 Walmart gift card. So, it doesn't look like anyone has gotten here yet, so I'm going to wait a few moments to give people a chance to start watching, because it's a little too confusing if I started and you don't get to see the beginning, especially if you want to follow along. So while I'm waiting, not while we're waiting, but while I'm waiting, I'm going to show you just some things that I recommend. There's a book that's my favorite book. I think we still have this. There was more than one copy in the system at one point, but I don't know that there's more than one copy of this book anymore, but I'm going to show you one of my favorite crochet books that's really quite good as far as learning how to crochet from a book. I'll show it to you in a minute. Okay, so I got one person so far. I'm going to kind of, and I apologize, my dogs are barking because I think it's time for my husband to get home, and they keep thinking that they're hearing him. But he's not here yet, so they're just hearing things, and so they're barking at nothing. If you didn't come by and get supplies for the program, really all you need for the program is some yarn and a crochet hook. There's a lot of different kinds. This is one of my favorite ones. It's by Clover, and let's see, it popped up to show me who was watching, but it doesn't say a name, so I'm not sure who that is. So I got a couple of people. This is my favorite type because it's got the bigger handle on it instead of being real small. I tend to have issues with my wrist, so I find this one a little more forgiving as far as crocheting. It doesn't wear out my wrist as much holding on to it. It's not as hard. So this is a really cool brand. They are a little more expensive. I think when I was buying them, and it's been quite a long time ago because I had learned how to crochet about, wow, more than 10 years ago now. I'm thinking back, it was in 2007 that I learned how to crochet. So back then these hooks were, I think they were around $7 a piece, but I liked them so well I just would buy them at either Michael's or Hobby Lobby with one of their 40% off coupons, and just buy one hook at a time to get them cheap. I'm going to show you a few other hooks that I have here. There's a lot of different kinds. The main reason, if you can find some that have a nice big handle on them, those are good too. It doesn't have to be this particular kind. If you don't have wrist issues, the regular crochet hooks are fine, though I am picky about the design. Let's see, I'm going to try to see if this will show it without blurring it out too much. See how, my hand behind it, it's got a flat, well, darn cameras. It's not quite doing it the way I want it to, but it's flat right here. The kind that I don't like have a tapered top to it like this. These tapered ones that are really, really tiny up in the end here, for beginners they're not good because you tend to slide your yarn into this smaller area whenever you're crocheting, and it makes your stitches really small if you do that. So this is my least favorite type of crochet hook. But if you get a metal one, like I said, get one that's got the nice, it's kind of more of a flat, you can tell it's more flat in the front instead of just tapered all the way around like that. See how that other one has a skinny neck? This one only kind of skinny when you turn it sideways, but not when it's flat on this side. They've got metal ones like this, they've got plastic ones like this, and then they also have wooden ones. And I can't remember the ones that I gave away for the class. I believe they might be kind of like this one, which that's not bad at all. You just don't want your work to go up in that little crook area when you're going to be pushing it back on the neck area when you're crocheting. You don't want your work to fall in that little crook area, because your stitches will get too small. Because the neck area is what actually dictates the size of your stitches. So be very careful about that. Like I said, this is just my least favorite. If you get comfortable with it and like them, that's great. I just don't think they're great learning ones, because you have to be very conscious about pushing your yarn down to this area right here. You don't want to work in this area because that's too small. So each time you do a stitch, you have to push it down in here. So that's just my preference. Some people like them, but there's a lot of different types of crochet hooks out there. Clover also makes some plastic ones that I really like too. So that's some of the plastic Clover ones that I have. But they're not the only ones out there. There's a bunch of other ones. You can even buy these metal ones that don't have handles on them, and you can buy a kind of like a rubber piece that's about this long that will go over it to give it easier to hold on to while you're crocheting. So you know, you don't have to buy this type. I just prefer the Clover one with a big handle on it, and that's what I'm going to be using tonight. I just wanted to show you the different types. Alright, we've got 6 people. Then a lot of times, I'm going to grab this other yarn, your label on the yarn is going to actually recommend what size crochet hook you're going to be using. So this particular
I believe you have my stapler.
Okay. I don't know if you heard that or not. My notification went off. My husband texted me to tell me he was on his way home. So sorry about that. He had to work late. This particular yarn says J, and I'm trying to read the rest of it. I think -10. Most of them are not going to have a number. Some of them, if it has a number, it's going to be millimeters. This one is it's going to be reversed because on this camera that I'm using, everything's reversed. But this is a G, and then the millimeter is 4.5. They don't always put that on the yarn. It's usually the letter. And this one's J, and this is a G. It's okay. This is a smaller size than what they call for. But it depends on how tight you crochet or how loose you crochet on what size crochet hook you're going to use. But when you're new to crocheting, it's better to kind of follow what the label recommends. Once you've kind of started, you know, crocheting a little bit, if you see that your stitches are too tight, then you'll want to go up at least 1 crochet hook size at least. If you noticed your stitches being extremely loose, then you'll want to go down. You're just going to figure that out once you get started. Alright, so alrighty, so I got 2 people still. A few people came and then left, but I was just trying to make sure that everyone was getting here who wanted to follow along. If you've got your crochet hook and your yarn, the yarn I gave out, it was donated yarn, so it tends to be a little smaller than the yarn that I think what I'm working with might be slightly bigger. It doesn't really look it, but it is slightly bigger than the yarn that y'all got. Y'all are going to have to work on trying to keep your stitches loose, and I'm going to try to help you with that. Because most people, when they're beginners in crocheting or even knitting, they tend, because they're kind of stressed about learning something new, they tend to make their stitches a little too tight. occasionally you'll get a person here and there that's really, really loose, and when they're beginning to learn. That's extremely rare in my experience when I've been teaching people, because I've been teaching how to crochet probably pretty much the whole time I've been working for the library, and I've been working for them since 2008, so it's been a long time I've been teaching that. Wow. Okay, so I'm going to get started on that. I'll show you the book when I switch camera here, because I would show it right now, but the words would be reversed on it on this side. So let me show you the book. This one is one of the best ones. I didn't check recently to make sure we still had a copy, but we did have one. We had a couple of them actually at one point, because I had asked the library to get more of them. But it's by, you can't see because of the glare. Let me see if I can bring it a little closer. Yay, all kinds of glare. But it's by Rowan, and it's called Rowan Presents Crochet Workshop. And what I like about this one is it's got really, really clear photos of how to crochet, which is unusual. Some of them don't have really good ones like that, and they show a lot more steps in theirs than most books do. And they kind of, like, this is further in the book, but what's so great about this one is not only does it go by each stitch and show you step by step, it gives you a chance to learn, kind of like follow along with it. Like chapter 2, you're learning how to build on what you've already learned without jumping right into projects right away. It's giving you a chance to build on your skills. It even shows you how to change color in your different colored yarn from one to another. I like that because at the beginning of the row it's really cool to see how to be able to do that, and they show really clearly how to do it, and then they've got projects that they show you how to do. But it's a really nice book. It's one of the few that I've seen that's really good. And I'm going to show you a few supplies that are handy to have. If you are going to get some stitch markers for crocheting, you'll need some that are not closed. So when you're looking at stitch markers, do not get this type. This is only for knitting. Any of the ones that are open are for crocheting, or if they close, like they have an opening and then you can close them. Those are, you can use them for knitting too, but don't use the ones that don't open at all for crocheting, but you can use these for knitting or crocheting. And then another handy tool to have is always to have some scissors. I like the little small kind that you can fold up. And you also want something to be able to work your tails into your work, because you're always going to have a tail at the beginning of your work, and anytime you change color you're going to have tails. So these blunt, this one does not have a sharp end to it, it's a very blunt type one. These are good for working your tails in. If you get this kind, you'll need something like this to be able to pull the yarn through it, because it's going to be really hard to get your yarn through that hole. But if you buy this type, they open, so you're able to just stick your yarn in there no problem. And so then you can use that to weave your yarn into your work. So those are some of the very basic supplies that you would need for crocheting. I mean, you could get other things like stitch counters if you're getting into some complicated patterns and so forth, but when you're just starting out, this is just basically what you'll need. Stitch markers are good for not just patterns, but when you're learning, if you are having trouble with maybe not having enough stitches on a row, or you notice that you're skipping stitches, then stitch markers are really handy for that type of thing too. And this is, if you ever want to get one of these are really cool. They have them in the travel section at Walmart, and they're very handy for crafting, holding your crafting supplies, especially if you want to be portable and put them in your bag if you want to take it places with you while you're working on it. Okay, so I'm going to adjust this a little bit more so we can look at the table here where I'm starting. Alright, so with crochet, oh, and I said this at the beginning. I don't think very many people were here at the time whenever I said it, but stick around till the very end of the video, because if you stick around to the end, I'm going to get your names, and I'm going to do like a little prize drawing for a $15 Walmart gift card. So don't leave. So stick through the whole thing if you want to do that. Alright, so this is my yarn, and I'm going to show you how to do a slip knot. And a slip knot is something you have to learn how to do in crochet, and also in knitting you're going to have to know how to do a slip knot. So this is handy if you ever want to go into knitting too. But it's just something you only do at the beginning of your work. You never do it again. It's always just at the start of your project. It's one of the hardest things to remember, especially when you're starting out and you're new, because you only do it once each time. And if you're doing big projects, I know I kept a little book in my crochet bag, so every time I started a new project I had that little book handy so I could look and see how to do a slip knot again, because I did it so little that it was hard to remember how to do it each time. And my ball of yarn is over here, so this is called your working yarn. So this end is your working yarn, and this is the tail. Alright, so to do a slip knot, there's a bunch of different ways to show, but I like to show it this way, where if you loop your yarn and you have your yarn tail going over your working yarn, this is the working yarn, then you're going to take this working yarn and you're going to pass it through the middle of your loop, like so. I know, let's do that again. So if this is your tail over the top and your working yarn is underneath it, then you're going to go over the top and pass it through. That's your slip knot. Alright, say your tail is behind your working yarn, then that means this is going to pass through the back of the loop. So that's the best way to learn it, is that if your tail is on top, let's see, it's curling on me now. If your tail is on top, it's not cooperating, then it goes through the top. If your tail is on the bottom, then it goes through the bottom. So that's the best way to remember when you're going to have this passing through the hole. Is it through, if the tail's on the back, then it goes through the back. If the tail's on the front, then it goes through the front. So that's the easiest way for me to teach to people. And you don't want to have a really long tail. So I'm going to pull that back out. With crochet, you just want it long enough that you can weave it into your work, but you don't want it too long. And that's about right. Okay, and once you get your slip knot down, and if y'all have, please make comments. And I think last week when I did my crafting with Opal program, I didn't ever see any comments until after the program, but then I tested it out, and I was able to get the comments to work. So if someone could just comment and say, hey, I'm watching, or hi, that'll help me know if the comments are going to come up on my screen for me, because then that's the way at the end of the program I'm going to have you guys tell me your names, so I will be able to put your names down to do the prize thing at the end. Let's see, nothing is popping up. I know I got a couple of people watching. Let's see. Okay, Terry. Hey, it says I can bring Terry Nunnery on camera. Their friends won't be able to watch this live video unless you're in the selected audience. Huh, that's interesting. I didn't know we could do that. So hey Terry, since you're watching, could you comment so I can see if this is working? Don't think it's working. Alright. Add viewers to be in your broadcast. And Linda's watching. Allow viewers to send you requests to join your broadcast at any point. There we go. I'm going to do that just to see. Because I don't know why comments are still not... I know y'all would be making some comments, Terry and Linda would, but no comments are showing up on my screen. I'm going to write a comment real quick just to see what happens. Okay, when I did that, everybody else's comments popped up. That is so bizarre. Okay, so yay. I was so worried about that. I wonder why that wasn't showing up before I did that. Alright, so looks like I got Linda and Angela and Terry and then Dee. Hey Dee. Hello, Top. On top. Alright, I'm glad those comments are working now. Yay. Okay. So like I said, stick to the end of the program so I'll be able to do the drawing. If you don't stick around to the very end, I won't know that you're watching because I'm going to get everybody's name at the very end of the program, and then I'll do my little drawing for a $10, or not $10, but $15 Walmart gift card. Alright, so I'm going to get started here. So I hope everyone feels okay with the Slipknot. If you don't feel good about the Slipknot and you're still confused about it, please speak up and make a comment so I'll be happy to go over it again, because I noticed I've got a few more people watching that weren't watching earlier. So, well,
I believe you have my stapler.
Oh, someone sent me something. Oh well. Sorry if you heard my message going off as someone was texting me. My thing says I believe you have my stapler is my thing that says whenever I get text messages. It's from Office Space, but so sorry about that. Okay, well, I'm not getting any comments about the Slipknot, so I'm going to move along. When you're holding your crochet hook, I'm going to show you real quick the way I hold it, but this is just how I got comfortable doing it. There's a lot of different ways to hold your yarn and your crochet hook. You just work and see what's comfortable for you. I wrap mine around my bottom finger and then over my top. That's not the only way to do it. I've seen some people just wrap it around their top finger. I've seen them not even wrapping it around their hand at all. It's just whatever is comfortable to you, and if you're brand new to crocheting, that's not something you need to even focus on in the beginning, because that tends to confuse a lot of people, like, oh, I gotta hold it this way, or and they'll be so wrapped up in that they won't pay attention to how, oh, you can't hear. Oh, goodness gracious, that's not good. Can anybody hear me? Or... Okay, let me try something. Let's try. Okay, I'm trying a microphone on this. Is that making it where you can hear now? I feel terrible that... Okay, you can hear me fine. Okay, good. Thank you. That was... I've never had that happen before. Okay. I'm sorry, Lori. I hope you can hear me now. She was unable to hear me before. All right. So, like I said, it's not... No audio problems here, Dee? Okay, thank you. All right, maybe... I'm so sorry. All right. Good. I'm glad people can hear. All right. So like I said, don't be real paranoid about how you hold your yarn in your hand, because a lot of times when I'm teaching, I'm not even going to hold it in my hand a certain way. I'm just going to hold it by my fingers. The main thing I want you to learn is how you get your stitch. You can work on how you want to hold it in your hand more later. When I've noticed that beginners, if they've got too many things to focus on and learn, it's harder for them to get it. So what I just want you to focus on is how you get your stitches. So when you're starting out, you have to do a foundation row of chains. There is a version of crochet where it's called no chain crochet. I'm not going to teach that tonight because that's extremely confusing to people. Once you get this version down, if you ever get interested in learning how to do no chain crochet, just Google it. There's lots of videos out there. There's not a lot of books on how to do it, but there are videos. Okay, so to do a chain, anytime you're working with crochet, you're almost always going to take your yarn and wrap it over from the back side of your crochet hook. You're never going to wrap it generally over the front. I learned the wrong way. I've wrapped mine over the top from the front. So you're going to start by wrapping it over from the back side. You always want your crochet work to be on the bottom of your crochet hook. You're going to have to struggle with keeping it from rolling around. So that's why you'll see my finger holding the yarn down on this other hand to keep it from rolling. So you want to wrap it over, and you want to take this stitch and put this one over it. So that's what you're focusing on. So, and I'm kind of grabbing my yarn like this to kind of stretch out the loop a little bit, and you're going to pull it through like so. And you'll notice I kept my crochet hook down this way. It's easier to pull your hook through when it's pointed downwards, because if you do it from up here, it's going to grab. So when you're pulling it through, always have it pointed downwards. If you want to start out like that with it over the top, that's fine, but rotate your crochet hook to pull it through like so. And I'm kind of tightening my loop right here so it's gotten smaller when I'm pulling it through. And you'll notice you're getting little V shapes for your stitches, and those are your chains. So right now you don't count the little bump down here because that's your slipknot, but right above it is a V shape. That's your first stitch, and this is the second stitch, and you want to be able to identify your stitches too. So you got two little V's there. Yours may not look like that, which is fine, because if you're crocheting too tight, let me show you. If you're crocheting really, really tight, it tightens up quite a bit. Mine, I have a hard time getting it really tight now because I've gotten so used to crocheting. But to loosen up, just put it on there and then just loosely, like, always push this stitch back to get it bigger. And that's probably what I'm doing. That's why I'm having a hard time getting mine too tight. If you stay down in this area and tighten it up like that, that is going to make it way too tight. And you're going to struggle, and you're not going to be able to pull it through very well. I did that a lot in the very beginning too. It's very easy to do when you're starting out. So now if you're really, really loose, you're going to have, it's going to be a lot easier to see. And my friend, she is extremely loose, and hers gets a lot bigger, which being loose is not a big deal. And when you're starting out, it actually is very helpful. So if you notice your stitches being really loose, that's going to help you out in the long run, especially when we go on to the next row. It'll be a lot easier getting your stitches in. If you get them too tight, you're going to be really struggling to get your hook through. So for the next row. Alright, so we're going to do this till we have about 20. So I'm going to stop again and kind of show you how to count. So this is your slip knot down here. It looks like a little knot. So you don't count it. So that one's the first one. That's my second one. That's my third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and that's my seventh. You do not count the one on the hook. So don't ever count it. I'm going to go ahead and hold my yarn like normal. I'm going to show you how I usually do it. So once you see, once you do get comfortable with holding it a certain way, how much easier it'll make it whenever you're actually doing your stitches. Because I'm not doing a whole lot of work here. I'm holding everything over here, and I'm just pulling it through like that. This is, when you get real loose and comfortable with it, you'll notice that, I mean, you're not being tight or anything at all. It gets really, really easy. The main thing I want you to learn is to always wrap this over from the back side, never the front. And this is actually called a yarn over. So if you're reading any patterns, it says yarn over, or it'll abbreviate yarn over. They have initials for everything in patterns. And if you ever want to know what all of the abbreviations are, if whatever pattern you're looking at, it doesn't have the description of what that's supposed to be, just Google, actually go to what was it, Lions Brand website. They actually have a breakdown of all of the stitch names and stuff in their initials, abbreviations, I'm sorry, and they have them all written out for you. I'm sure there's some other places that have it, but I noticed they had a pretty good listing. So as long as you're always wrapping it over from the back to do your yarn over, you yarn over and then you pull it through, and you yarn over and then you pull it. And see, having a bigger loop right here, when you go to pull it through, it makes it a lot easier. So keeping it loose is the best thing, because if you get too tight, then it's going to be extremely difficult to get it through there. So see how I'm kind of pulling it and opening it up a lot? That's the best thing to do, and then pull it through. And I'm always pushing it back onto the neck. Don't work from up here, because you're going to get everything too small. And you'll notice my yarn was trying to split a little bit. That happens a lot to you whenever you're starting out and a beginner. That's a pretty frustrating thing to deal with when you're starting out, because you'll end up splitting your yarn a lot because you're so tight on everything in the beginning. Don't worry about it. Don't worry if your stuff doesn't look nice and pretty like this. I've been crocheting for over 10 years, so it's going to look really nice on mine. Mine looked really bad, and I couldn't see my stitches real well either whenever I was starting out. So don't get upset if it doesn't look real great. As long as you're getting how to do this stitch, that's all that matters, because practice is actually going to make it look better. You have to get used to holding all of this in your hand and it becoming second nature. It's just like learning anything else. In the beginning, it's not going to look as good. You're going to get frustrated with it. But if you enjoy, the patterns you see that you want to make, you're like, oh yeah, I really want to learn how to do that. Stick with it. If you're really interested in it and you practice it, then you will get better. You just have to practice and stick with it. I'm not sure how many I've gotten here, but we only need to do maybe 20 of these. So hopefully, even if you don't have 20, don't worry about it. But another way to count your stitches too, you can always start from the top here, and that's a good place to start. That would be your first stitch, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I think I had 16. Not a big deal, but if you're doing a really, really big blanket or something, or any kind of big project, and you need to know how many stitches over you need to crochet into, use the stitch markers. That's what they're for. They help you keep track of where you need to change your stitches, and I'll show you. These are really great. If you're going to be pulling your stitch markers out over and over again, I like these the best, because you can put them in and pull them out really easy. The ones that close up, I tend not to use these unless, say I'm working on a project and I want to hold my place. Then I'll open this one up and put it on the end where my crochet hook is, and it'll hold it, and I don't have to leave my crochet hook in there, and it'll hold my work for me. Those are really, really handy for that. That's what I use those for the most often. Alright. I'm gonna, unless y'all want me to take time to show how to do these chains again, just speak up if you want to see some more chains. I'll be happy to show you. And like I said, you don't have to hold your yarn like this. You can hold it different ways with just your fingers up there. It's just a way to hold your tension of the yarn on this side is mostly what it's for. And if you notice a lot, I'm doing a lot of holding this yarn here, down here in place while I do all of this. And that's kind of the key to it, being able to do that, to keep this work from moving around on your crochet hook and keeping it underneath your crochet hook. See, I'm only holding it with 2 fingers now, and it works that way too. There's just so many different ways. Oh, Terry. Yeah, well, I make it look easy because I've done this for years and years and years. But really, it really is a lot of practice, and just getting comfortable with all of this. I'm very comfortable with it, so that's why it looks so easy. I understand how hard it can be whenever you're starting out, but it's just a lot of practice. If you can get this part where you're taking it from the back and rolling over the top of your crochet hook for the yarn over and then pulling it through, that's all that matters. I don't care how you're able to accomplish this particular movement here, as long as you're able to do it, even if it's awkward and frustrating, as long as you can do this, just keep doing it. And practicing it. You'll get the hang of it eventually, and it'll look a whole lot better too. If y'all are okay with this, I'll go ahead and go on to doing a single crochet. Technically the next stitch to learn is a slip knot, but I'm not going to show you how to do a slip knot because it's incredibly easy, and you don't use slip knots. I would kind of hate to say not often. It depends on what type of stuff you're crocheting, on whether or not you're going to use a slip knot. They're not as common as some of the other stitches. You will use slip knots when you're making, like if you're crocheting in the round, like going in circles, you'll use slip knots because like when you're doing stuffed animals or stuff like that, you'll do slip knots. Or if you're doing an edging on the, like say you did a baby blanket and you want to put a pretty edging on it, you may want to do a slip knot around the edges, which I never have. I usually do a single crochet around the edges instead of a slip knot, but some people do slip knots. Alright, since no one spoke up, I'm going to go ahead and go on to the single crochet. And with the single crochet, you're going to skip the first stitch here. That's the very first one, you're not counting this one right here. You're going to go to this one. This is the second one. So skip one and go into the second one, and I'm going to try to make this as visible as possible. It looks like a little V, and we're going to actually put the crochet hook through just this top loop right here. So that's what we're doing. We're just sticking it, and it's the second one. Now that I've kind of tightened it up, you can't see my other stitch. But I skipped my first one, and I'm just sticking it through, just that one. And then we're going to do a yarn over, like so, just like we did before. So you're passing this over the back side, over to the front, and you're going to pull it through both of them, which is going to be hard. I'll tell you right now, that's not real easy to do. And that's a single crochet. It's pretty simple. Let's see. I'm going to put this down for a second. I'm so used to doing a double crochet. I'm going to make sure that I'm not messing this up. I haven't done a single crochet in forever. Yep, you just pull it through both. Yep, okay. I hardly ever do single crochets. Alright, so I'm going to do that again, but I want you to see something. See that hole right there? That's how you know that you've been through that loop already. So you've been through that stitch because you've got a big hole in it. I had a hard time telling that whenever I first started crocheting. So I've got a hole there, so I'm going to avoid that one because I've already went through it. So my next one is this one right here, and it's kind of hard to see because I've gotten it so tight. So I'm going to loosen it up a little bit with with my crochet hook so it's a little more visible. So I got a hole right here, and it's the closest thing to my hook. So I want to go through this little loop right here, and then I'm going to yarn over, and then I'm going to pull it through both of them. And that's another one. So I've done two, and if you turn your work, you can see little V's on top of your work. You're going to see that a lot in crochet. Alright, so there I've got another hole. So my next one is going to be this spot over here, and I'm only going through this top loop. See, there's a bottom loop, but I'm only going through the top one. So you yarn over, and I keep wanting to pull it through just one, but you pull it through both. Am I doing a slip stitch? I keep feeling like I'm doing this wrong. Yeah, I am. I'm doing a slip stitch, I believe. Uh-oh. My dogs are barking. Yeah, I was doing a slip stitch. I'm so sorry. I just now realized that. I told you I don't do single crochets very often. Okay, we were doing slip knots. Yay. I'm going to pull this out. Slip knots are okay, but they're not necessary. And you can always frog your work, or rip it out. That's two different terms for it. When you rip your work out, it's also called frogging. I'm going to rip that out again. I'm so sorry. So I messed you up. I'm so sorry. I was doing the slip knot. Okay. Because you just pull it straight through with that one. I think because I messed myself up because right before I started the video, for the heck of it, I went and looked at the slip knot. And because I hadn't done that one forever. Okay, so it's still the same thing. You're going to skip your first one and go through. But you're going to yarn over, pull it through, and then you're going to yarn over and then pull it through two of them. I knew it seemed weird what I was doing because the stitch wasn't very tall either. With the single crochet, you have a little height to it. The one I was doing earlier, it was very flat. And that's the main differences in all of the crochet stitches. Each one is a little bit taller. Let me show you real quick. I think this had a picture. Let's see. No photos? I could have swore I could do a bunch of different ones and show you, but oh, one of my puppy dogs came in here and yelled. Okay. Well, maybe not. Most crochet books always showed the differences in the heights. Oh well. I guess it's not going to show you. But yeah, that's the different stitches are different heights. But let me show the correct way how to do a single crochet again. But that's the main thing. You can see your hole there. So I've been through that stitch right there. So you want to go into this next one. You're going to yarn over. Pull it through just that one, not what I was doing earlier. Then you're going to yarn over and pull it through two. So there's two steps to a single crochet, which is kind of strange. It makes it kind of hard to remember since you have to do two things. Okay, so that's my second stitch. Alright, so there I've got another hole, and here's my very next stitch. I'm going underneath that. I'm going to drop this yarn so I can show y'all that you don't have to hold on to it. So you loop it over, pull it through just that one, you loop it over, and you pull it through two of them. There's my third one. So two steps. Let me show you again. I'm sorry, there's noises in the background of my dogs playing. Alright, so there's my hole again. So this is going to be my next one. So you're going to go through it, loop it over, pull it through just that, and then you're going to loop it over and pull it through two of them. Alright, now we've got another hole, so we're going on to this next one. We're going to go underneath it, loop it over, pull it through, and then yarn over, and then pull it through 2. So it's yarn over, pull it through 1, and yarn over, pull it through 2. Okay, so yarn over, pull it through 1, yarn over, and then pull it through 2. Yeah, I'm not getting hung up, so it's making it look like it's super simple when it's actually really hard. So you guys don't beat yourselves up if you're having problems. Because in all the times I've been teaching these classes, I would say 90% of the students, all of them struggle. I mean, really, truly. There's only been a very small percentage, maybe 5, maybe 10%, because I've done it for so long, would actually not really have any problems with it. But typically the ones that didn't have problems either already knew how to knit, they didn't know how to crochet, but they already knew how to knit. And if you already know how to do one type of craft like that, typically they catch on and are able to pick up another craft pretty fast. I even had someone that had only done woodworking before, and they picked it up really fast. It just seems like people that typically are crafty people with their hands, you know, doing any kind of craft with their hands, they just seem to be a little more agile with their hands, and they're used to working with them more and doing small stuff like this, and so they tend to pick it up faster. I rarely have found someone that just immediately picked it up and had never done any of this type of stuff before, or any kind of craft. It's happened, but very, very rarely. Alright, so there's my hole. So here's my next one, and if you have to kind of, I know sometimes it's really hard to see, but it's just going to be right next to where your hole is going to be, and you're almost not going to even be able to see it very good, and you're just going underneath that loop. So you're going to take your yarn, loop it over, pull it through, and then loop it over and pull it through 2 of them. Alright, and then you should have something similar to some V's on top of your work. And your side is going to be a little bit like this. Like I said, don't panic if it doesn't look a whole lot like that. So there you go. So I'm going to keep going across, showing you how to do that. This row is done differently than all the rows that you're going to be doing. The row that you do on top of your foundation row is done slightly different than all the other rows you're going to be doing. So we're going to continue on, and I'm going to finish this row so I can show you how to do the next row. Alright, so we've got our hole there, so our next spot is going to be this stitch here. So we're going to pass through, yarn over, pull it through just that one, yarn over, and then, as you can see, I'm turning it downwards to pull it through, because if you don't turn it downwards, it's going to get hung on your other stuff. Alright, so there's my hole. So this is my next one. So, and you'll notice it's going to try to swivel around on you. Try to keep it underneath, and then you're going to yarn it over, pull it through just that one, then you're going to yarn it over, and then pull it through these 2. Okay, we're going to continue on. There's my hole again, so I'm going on to this next one, yarning over, pulling it through just that one, yarning over, and pulling it through 2 of them. And if you're splitting your yarn, don't worry about it. It may look yucky, but it's okay. You're learning. You just have to get used to all of this. It'll look better later. Don't worry about it. Okay, so there's my hole, and so there's my next stitch. And so, oh, and one thing I never did mention at the very beginning is you want to not ever start off with learning crochet with dark colored yarns. So when you're starting out, don't do black yarn, don't do navy yarn, anything that's just got a really dark color to it, because you think it's hard seeing your stitches on this yarn. You try seeing your stitches on in the black yarn or the navy yarn, you can't see anything. So the brighter the yarn, the better when you're starting out. So, okay, so I stopped in the middle there. I had only put it through and yarned it over, so I got to pull it through once. And then I'm going to yarn over and then pull it through these two. That's my stitch. Alright, how much longer? I got a little bit longer to go here. It's funny how bright this yarn looks on the camera. It doesn't look that bright in person. Alright, so there's that hole. So I'm going into the very next one. Oh, I hope my husband's not feeding my dogs again. Hold on. Hey, Brian? Hey, Brian. Brian. I just letting you know, I already fed the dogs. Did you know that? Okay. I'll make sure my dogs didn't get fed again. They would eat. They would definitely eat. Hey, Zoe. I'm sorry, I'm busy. They would definitely eat again if he fed them. Alright, so I'm going to pull this out again since I stopped in the middle. Alright, so I got a big gaping hole there. And this one's actually opened up a little bit. Oh, no. No, no, no. Y'all don't need to be playing. Lucy, quiet. I'm working right now, girl. I know you're trying to... no! Go away. Here. Oh, no. I know y'all are just wanting to play, but you can't play in here. Ow. Okay. Alright. Okay, I think I got rid of my dogs. Okay. Sorry. They haven't seen us all day, so they want to play. Okay. Alright, so there's my hole, and that's my next stitch. So I'm going to put it in that one and yarn over. Oops, everything's trying to roll around. So I'm going to pull it through that. And then I'm going to yarn over again and then pull it through two of them. So 1, 2 is, you got 2 steps on doing your stitch. There's my hole. So this is my next one. So yarn over, pull it through that one, and yarn over and pull it through 2. Alright. Okay, there's my hole again, and then this is my next one. Gonna push it through. And I didn't show you the back of the stitches. It looks quite a bit different. It doesn't look like a V, and it's got little solid bumps across the back. So you don't want that to roll around on you. That's how you can kind of identify what's the front and the back. So this is the front, and the back's got, it just has a different look to it. Okay, so yarn over the back, crochet hook, and then pull it through, and yarn over, and you're going to pull it through 2 of them. Okay. And I'm getting close to the end here. That's another thing that people have trouble seeing is the last stitch. Okay, so there's my hole, and then right next to it where I want to go, I'm going to yarn over and pull it through, and I'm keeping it kind of tight too. And then pull it through 2 of them. Alright, so there's my hole, and so there's my stitch. So pull it, and this sometimes it'll just lay across it, and that is still yarning over. As long as it's laying over the top half and not coming from underneath, you're good. And yarn over, pull it through the second one. Alright, and it looks like I've got 1, 2 stitches left, and then I've got my slip knot. Okay, so there's my hole again, and there's the stitch right next to it. So yarn over and pull it through, and yarn over and pull it through 2 of them. Alright, so there's, that one's even a bigger hole because that stitch was a lot looser. So I got 1 more stitch. You can barely see it, it's right next to it. And then my yarn's just literally laying across the top, so that's fine because it's laying across. And then I yarn over and pull it through both of these. Alright, now there's your hole, and then there's a knot right there. So I'm at the end of my row. I don't have any more V's. I've got a knot. So that's how you know that you've gotten to the end of your row. With crochet, it's going to kind of curl on you too. Crochet always curls until you've gotten your piece a little bit bigger. Alright, so you're just going to turn it, and it doesn't matter if you turn it this way or if you turn it this way. As long as you turn your work, it doesn't matter which way you turn it, as long as you're going back the other direction. Okay, at the beginning of a row, you're always going to chain. We're doing single crochets, so we're only going to chain one. On the other stitches, you're going to chain more than one. A double crochet, you're actually going to chain two. A half double crochet, you chain one. And that wording is so strange. And then a double crochet, you're going to chain three. And that's what I'm talking about as far as the stitches being taller. The more you chain at the beginning of the row, the taller that stitch is going to be. So single crochet, I'm getting ready to do this row, so I'm going to yarn over, and I'm just going to chain one. So that's the beginning of the row. You have to do that. It's for the height of the stitch. That's the reason why you do it. Like I said, if you did a half double crochet, then you would actually chain another one. You would do 2 chains. And if you were doing a double crochet, you would chain 3. Because if you don't do that, then the edges, it's going to be smushed and it's going to look funky. It's not going to be nice and flat. So we chained 1, and then I'm going to turn my work where you can see the top of it. That's the chain I just did right there. That's my chain I just chained. Underneath it is my first stitch. So we're skipping the chain, and we're actually going to crochet into the first actual stitch from my other row. So what you're going to do, instead of going through just the back loop only, because that's what we were doing on the chain row, on the foundation row, we're actually going to come around to the front of the work. This is the front here, and you can kind of pull it apart to see your hole where you're going to be going. You're actually going to go underneath the stitches. So this is my first stitch, and that's that little V. I've got my chain here, and then this is my first stitch. So this little piece right here, I'm going to cover up everything else. You're going to be going underneath both of those pieces of yarn, that little V. Before, like I said, you were only going underneath the back one. We want to go underneath both of them. So I'm going to pass my crochet hook underneath where you can see you're underneath the front one and the back loop, and then this is the one that was on the crochet hook when we started. So we passed underneath both of those, and this yarn right here, it's not going to seem like you're yarning over. You're literally going to put your yarn over the top of your crochet hook, and what you're going to do is you're going to pull that piece of yarn that's over the top of it underneath just this little V. That's considered being pulled under a stitch. I know it's 2 pieces of yarn, but it's actually 1 stitch. So you're just going to pull it through just that 2 pieces of yarn there. Then you're going to yarn it over again. Then you're going to pull it through these 2. Oops, and it came off my hook, which you can pull it out a little bit and stick your hook back in. Not a big deal. But I'm going to pull it out and show you what I did again. Alright, so that's my chain. This is just the stitch on my crochet hook. That's my chain, and that's my first stitch that I'm going underneath. And the whole stitch is 2 pieces of yarn there. So I'm going underneath it, and I'm yarning over, pulling it just through that piece right there. Now I've got 2 on my crochet hook, so I'm going to yarn over again and pull it through those 2. That's the whole process of doing 1 stitch. So I just crocheted into 1 stitch just then. Alright, now you can see a big gaping hole like we did on the first row, and you're going to be looking for your next stitch. So I've already been through that one because that's where my hole is at. So you're going to go underneath the next 2 pieces of yarn, and you do it from the front. You pass it through, and you can see right there I went underneath 2 pieces of yarn. That's the stitch that's directly underneath. So I just went through it. I'm yarning over, and it's literally laying across the top. As long as you don't do it around this side, you're fine. So over the top, you're pulling it through just those 2, like so. That's the first step for that stitch, and then you're going to put the yarn over the top of it again and pull it through 2 pieces there. Okay, so that's my second stitch. So I just did my second one. And when you turn it over, you can see the top again where you've got the 2 V's. So I've done my first 2 stitches. And we're going to continue on. You can see your gap there. And my next gap is going to be that hole right there. And when you turn it this way, you can see the V. So you're literally going through that little gap underneath just those 2 pieces of yarn. That's your stitch from the row before. Okay, so you're yarning over. I want to make sure you can see that. It's really hard to see because the yarn is literally laying across the crochet hook over the top of it like that. So you're going to pull it through that piece, and then you're going to yarn over and pull it through these 2. Alright, so that's another crochet, single crochet. Alright, so there's my gap. So I've been through that one. So this is my next one. So I'm going to turn it over where I can see it, the top of it, but you're going to pass it through from the side. And you've got these 2 pieces of yarn that you passed it through. And you're going to lay your yarn over the top, and you're going to pull it through that piece, and then you're going to lay it over the top again, and you're going to pull it through these 2. And that's your like it's a 2-step process just to get 1 stitch. Alright, so we see our hole again, and then we're looking for our second one. So it's this one right here, and you're going underneath. When you turn your work, you can see that little V that you're going underneath. So you're passing your yarn over the top and pulling it through underneath, and then you're yarning it over again and pulling it through these 2. So there's your next stitch. Okay, so we're going to look again. There's our hole, and then that's our next stitch. You can see it from the top too because it's the very next V. So you're going underneath them, yarning over, pulling it through underneath, then yarning it over and pulling it through these 2. So is everyone okay? I'm wondering how everyone's doing. Am I going too fast, or are you having trouble seeing what I'm doing? Y'all have any questions? I'm just kind of curious. I want to put that out there just in case I need to slow down, or if I'm not showing it properly, you can't see what I'm doing well enough. I can slow down. Okay, I've got some thumbs up, so that's promising. Okay, well, I'm going to keep going to the end of the row. Alright, so there's our hole, and then I'm going to go, that's the top, I can see. That's my next one. Thank you, Lori. Alright, so I'm going to go underneath that. I'm going to yarn over, pull it through my V, and then I'm going to yarn over and then pull it through those 2. Okay, that's my next stitch. Alright, and if yours just is really hard to see, don't worry about it. It's alright. Just as long as you're understanding how to get the stitch, it doesn't matter what it looks like. If your yarn is getting split in half, some stitches are tighter than others, and it's not nice and neat like mine, don't worry. It's going to look that way in the beginning because you're learning. Once you get comfortable with all of this stuff going on at the same time, everything will even out on you. I guarantee it. It just takes practice. You just practice it until you're just bored with it before you go on to learn another stitch. That's what I always recommend to everyone learning how to crochet. Get the single crochet down, make it just where you're bored to tears with it and you can't stand it anymore and you want to learn something else. Then go to learn the next stitch, like the half double and the double. I like those 2 pretty good. I typically do the half double a lot. I really like that one because it's not real tiny like the single, but it's not quite as big as the double. I like something right in the middle. When I make granny squares and stuff like that, I typically do half doubles a lot. But there's different stitches called for in different different patterns too. And it also depends on the pattern that I'm working on. Alright, so this is my next one, because I got my hole there. You can kind of see that there's yarn wrapped around that hole, and there's nothing wrapped around this one. So I'm going to go underneath it, and make sure that you always double check. Once you've punched it through, look and make sure that you've got 2 pieces of yarn there that you've put your crochet hook through. Alright, and then you pass that over the top and pull it through. You yarn over and then pull it through 2. Can I show the half double? Yeah, I sure will. I'll get to the end of the row here, and then, well, actually, if I do it right now, it'll show you the height difference, how big of a difference the height is. You never want to change stitches that have different heights in the middle of a row unless the pattern calls for it, because sometimes the pattern might want it to be bigger or smaller in different sections, but typically you want it all one size. Okay, I hope this doesn't confuse a whole lot of people by doing this, but just for a moment, if you don't want to learn the half double crochet, don't pay attention right now. Just ignore what I'm getting ready to do. With a half double, let's see, I want to make sure that I'm going to show this correctly, because it's because they're showing how to. Alright, and if you're starting out your row with a half double, you're going to chain 2 chains. This row's already started with just one, with a single crochet. So let's see, you yarn over. I'm trying to remember. It's always hard to let me make sure. I get so used to things, and then I go to teach it and I go, wait a second. Alright, so pull it through, because you're going to have more than one thing on your crochet hook. I might even have to, oh, I know what. I got some, no, that's double crochet. Never mind. I have a pattern that I'm working on right now that's got double crochets in it. Let's see. Alright. So do we, wrapping 3rd chain from the hook, wrap around. I might just have to play with this for a second. Pretty sure. Don't pay attention to me for a second. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's what it is, because you add 1 step to it usually. Alright. It's not wrapping around my finger the way I want it to. Yarn over, go through. Oh no, I'm trying to do a double crochet. Hold on. Alright. Let me not mess this up. I feel pressure now. Alright, so you wrap the yarn once around the hook. Okay, that's what I was doing. Wrap it around, work into the 3rd chain, and then wrap around the hook again. That seems like that doesn't seem right. Oh, you're pulling all 3. Oh, maybe that is right. Yeah. Here, hold on. Okay. Yeah. And you can't see the height of, you can see a little bit in the difference of it. But you're yarning over first, and then going under it, and then pulling it over. But instead of having 2 loops on top, you have 3, and you pull it through the 3. So that's a half double. You yarn over, and then you want that, avoid that hole there, because that's my stitch. Oops, my yarn is getting kind of taut. So you're going to start off like when you go underneath this stitch, you're going to have already yarned over, and you've got 2 stitches on your crochet hook. So it's a lot like the single crochet, but you yarn over before you go underneath the stitch. But the next part is the same. You pull this through, now you've got 3 on top instead of 2, and then you yarn over and pull it through those 3. So yarn over before, go in underneath that stitch, yarn over, and then you pull it through 3 of them. That's the half double, and you can't, since I did it on the same row, it does make it slightly bulkier and taller, because it's just very slightly taller than the single. So I'm doing the half double right now. So if y'all were learning the single, ignore what I'm doing right now. So you yarn over before you go under there, then you go under, yarn over again, and then you've got 3 on there before you pull it through. So see how I mean that each one, you kind of just add 1 step to it. So with the half double, the only thing you're doing extra is you're yarning over before you go underneath here. And then the rest of it's pretty much the same. You pull it through and you've got 3 of them on there, and you pull it through 3. So yarn over, you go underneath, and then you pull it through, and then you've got 3 of them that you're yarning over to pull it through again. So that's the half double. Not a huge difference. When you get into the double, it does change quite a bit. So you yarn over, you go through your next stitch, you yarn over, and then you got 3 of them on there at that point, and you pull it through the 3. And I'm going to go ahead and, was that easy enough, Lori? Did I confuse you? It took me a minute to change gears. I want to rip it back. I hope I wasn't confusing people. Let's see, I think I got it ripped back to, yeah, my single. Wow. I really had to use my brain. I haven't been crocheting a lot in a long time. Oh, you're welcome. You'll find that you'll find certain patterns that you'll really enjoy, and they may only call for a certain stitch, and you'll get used to doing that stitch for a long time, and then you'll go, oh, wait a second, I know how to do the other one. But you changing gears to get back to learning how to do that one. I know I say that's my favorite stitch, but I haven't actually done that stitch in a while, because the pattern I'm currently working on is only double crochets. So it was kind of like, okay, it's a step less than the double crochet, but it's a step more than the single crochet. Alright, I went back and worked some more single crochets to get to the end here, so I can show y'all what to do at the end here. Alright, or how to see that you're at the end. Alright, I'm turning my work, and I've got 2 stitches left. I know that's really hard to see. If you're looking at this, you're probably wondering, how in the world, hold on, I'm sorry. Lucy, oh, my dog was eating a toy she shouldn't be eating. Okay, sorry, you do not eat your dog toys, okay? You're going to have to find something else to do, Lucy. Okay, so sorry. I didn't want her, it was a toy that actually is made out of yarn, and I didn't want her to eat the yarn. Okay, so I know this is very strange looking, but there's 2 stitches left at the end here. And someone just sent me a message. I'm like, okay. Alright, the way I usually can tell is whenever I turn my work where I look at the top of it, I can actually still see 2 V's here. That's a V and that's a V, so those are both stitches. I know that's going to be kind of hard to tell when you're new to crocheting and your work is kind of bunched up and hard to see things. But I've only got 2 stitches left right now. So I've been through this stitch right here because that's where my hole is at and those loops are at. So we're going to go underneath this one, and then we're going to yarn over and pull it through just that. And then we're going to yarn over and then pull it through these 2. So that's my next stitch. And see, that kind of sticks out. So that kind of indicates like, oh wow, okay, I'm not really quite to the end of my row yet. So I've got one little V there. You can actually see the V. So I've got one more stitch. And this one might be a little more difficult to get underneath. You may find difficulty with this one because it's going to be kind of pulled down and tight. So it's going to be a lot harder to see. So I went underneath it because I got 2 pieces of yarn that I went underneath, and I'm going to yarn over, and this part will be kind of hard if you're not holding it a certain way, and you're just going to pull it through just that, and then you're going to yarn over and pull it through too. So now you're to the end of this row. And see, when you get to the end of the row, it's going to be more of a smooth edge to it. You're not going to have anything sticking out. So that kind of helps you know that you've gotten to the end of that row. Alright, so now that we're to the end of the row for the single, like I say, you swap it around. And it doesn't matter if you swap it this way or, let's see which way I was going. Oh, my dog's barking or fussing at me. No, you can't get in my lap, sorry. Or you can swap it this way. It doesn't really matter. I like to swap it where my yarn still kind of stays on the back side. Alright, so if we were going to continue on doing single crochets, then you would do 1 chain. So doing a chain is yarning over from the back and then pulling it through, and that's your chain. So that's the beginning of your row. And I did my chain now. Some people will actually do a chain when they're at the end of the row this direction. If you prefer to do it that way, go ahead. It's just that if you do it that way, do it throughout the entire project. Don't do it chain here that when you're turned this way, and then the next row chain when you're pointed this direction, because it kind of twists the chain the way it looks. And as long as you do it exactly the same, like always do it when you get to the end of the row this direction, or always do it once you've turned your work, as long as you're doing it throughout the entire work, it won't matter. The whole edge will have the same look to it. If you change it up a bit, it'll have a little bit of different look to it on the edge, which not a big deal, but it makes it look a little more straighter if you do that. Alright, does anybody else have any questions or feel good or bad, or have questions, or want to see me do the single crochet again? I'd be happy to do more of those, but I just noticed it's been an hour and y'all might be tired of listening to me or watching me do the same stitch over and over again. I don't know. If y'all feel good with that, you can give me like a thumbs up, or I guess you don't have to say anything if you if you don't want to. But I want to go ahead and tell you to, if you're still here, to go ahead and like say something like here, or hi, or something like that. I need you to make a comment so I can get your name, okay? Because I'm going to do the drawing. Oh, my dog is fussing at me so much. I need to get your name by you making a comment. So, because when you make a comment, your name pops up on the screen in the comment section for me. I want to get everyone's name that's still with me so I can do a drawing real quick for the $15 Walmart gift card, okay? So I had to pick up my dog. She was fussing at me. I'm not really sure who's left. Okay, so Lori's here. Yay. I'm going to put you down. Ah, my dog is licking me on the face. I did not want that. There's somebody else watching, but I'm not sure who it is. Let's see. I wonder if it will tell me if I click on... No? Let's see. Well, you might just be it, Lori, if no one else speaks up. It shows that there's 2 people watching. Okay. But I'm not sure who the 2 people are besides you, Lori. So like I said, if you're watching, please go ahead and say hi or here if you want to be included in the drawing that I'm doing. So please speak up, because if you don't make a comment, it doesn't show your name and I don't know you're watching. It just says how many people are watching, not the names of the people. Oop, I got 3 people. Come on. I need a comment from you so I know who it is. And then I'll do the drawing. Well, Maybe they don't want to win a gift card. Well, Lori, you might end up winning by default since no one wants to speak up. Maybe they don't want a Walmart gift card. Okay, well, all right. I guess I'm just gonna call it then because nobody is saying anything. Okay, Lori, you're the winner of the Walmart $15 Walmart gift card. I'm going to be doing this type of drawing at the end of my crafting. All right. I'm going to do this type of drawing at the end of all of my crafting with Opal classes this month, and then not all of next month, but through our summer reading club time period, which I think is through, there's going to be 7 total, counting this one. Counting this one. So this one and the next 6 crafting with opals. So yeah, keep watching my programs, and I'll do a drawing. It'll be different prizes. I'm planning on getting some. I got another Walmart gift card, but I'm gonna try to go out and get a Michael's gift card, a Joanne gift card, and a Hobby Lobby one. And I have 2 aprons that I bought that I ironed on some the Summer Reading Club logos on it, and I'm going to give those away during my painting programs that I do during the Crafting with Opal program. So those will be some of the prizes. So yeah, just keep watching, and you'll just have to stick around to the end of the program to get a chance to win. And Lori, since you won, in order to pick up your gift card, you can start tomorrow. I'm going to put your name on it and probably put it in an envelope or something. And we have curbside pickup from 9 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock, Monday through Friday, or Saturday. So you would be able to pick it up through curbside if you wanted to. Anytime, like I said, Monday through Saturday, between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. And what you'll do is, if you haven't been by the library to see how curbside works, you would just pull into the back side of the parking lot where the library's at, where we have our outside book return, and just park in one of those parking spaces that are close to the book return. And just get on your phone and give us a call. And our number there, you can always look it up on the website, but it's or on our Facebook page. But it's 501. What's it? 457-5038. Yeah. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm like, memory? Yeah. 501-457-5038. Or you can double check me on our Facebook page just to make sure. But just call that number when you get there and just tell them you're in the parking lot and you're there to pick up your gift card that you won from the Crafting with Opal program. And they'll probably ask you your name. And let me write down your last name. It's Howard. All right. And just tell them your name, and I'll have a certain spot that I'll put it so that anyone will be able to find it. It won't have to be me. So if I'm not there, you can pick it up. All right, so if you have any questions, you can always message our Facebook page if I didn't make all of that real clear and you needed more direction on how to pick that up. So just let me know. And let's see. Well, I was trying to turn this around, but it's not going to let me swap it around to me. Wait, yes it is. There we go. All right. So next week, I'm going to show you real quick. We're going to do sewing next week, and we'll have it where you can pick up supplies for this program too. You'll get this little hook right here. We're going to show you how to do a lanyard. If you don't want to do a lanyard, you could do just a shorter version of this to put on your keychain if you want. But I'm going to show you how to make that. We'll provide the fabric and the hook for that. So if you want to sign up for supplies for this program, tomorrow I will put the sign-up sheet out for you to sign up. You can do that by phone. Just call up there, our number, and say that you want to sign up for supplies for the Crafting with Opal program, and they'll put your name and phone number down, and then at that point you can come by and pick up those supplies. I would say I work Friday. I'm trying to think if I can get this supplies together quickly. I would say call before you come if you're going to come to pick them up before Wednesday. I should have the supplies together and ready by Wednesday, but if you want to come before that day, just call and see if I'm there and if I was able to get your stuff together for you before then. I'll try to get it together if you call early enough before Wednesday, but if something happens, then you might have to wait till Wednesday or Thursday to pick up the supplies if you want some. Alright, if y'all don't have any questions, I'll say bye, but I'll give y'all a chance if anyone else has any questions. I'm trying to see if it'll let me see who all... No, I wonder why it won't show who all's watching, but oh well. But we'll be doing the sewing thing next week. Hopefully you have a sewing machine. I hate not being able to do these programs in the library because we have sewing machines that we let people use whenever we do the programs there, but it sounds like we're not going to get to do in library programs until probably, I think they were saying limitedly August, but probably not until our class is only on Thursdays. The Crafting with Opal program is just on Thursdays at 7. I've been doing a Sewing 101 class on Fridays at 1 o'clock. That class hasn't, it was well attended in the very beginning and had a lot of people watching it. The last couple I did, it seemed like people weren't as interested in the class anymore. And I think it's mainly because with that one I'm not doing a project. I'm just teaching you basic instructions on using your machine and the different things that you can do with your sewing machine, and also letting people ask questions if they have problems and with their machine and they want to see if I can help them. But that one hasn't been going real well, so tomorrow might be the last Sewing 101 class I do for a while, just because I've covered everything, and all of the videos, all of those classes, and all of the Crafting with Opal classes that I've been doing for the last several months, they're all on our Facebook page, because after we do the live, it gets recorded automatically and saved to our Facebook page. So you can go to our videos and find all of the previous ones that I've done. So if you're interested in any of those, just go check those out. I've kind of covered almost everything that you can cover with just beginning sewing without getting advanced. So currently that's really all we have going right now. I'm trying to come up with some other programs to do, different crafting ones. That's mostly what I do is crafting videos. I'm going to try to do, I've been looking at doing some maybe something on embroidery and stuff like that too, just to show some basic stitches. Maybe not a particular project, but just showing. Does Nixon have a specific Facebook page? Yes, we do. Actually, this live that I'm doing is, you can only get to it from the whole title of our page is called the Central Arkansas Library System Nixon, and it has like a dash and then Nixon Library maybe, but that's our specific Facebook page, which you probably had to get to it in order to get to this video, unless it was shared with you. So wherever you saw that shared video for it, typically at the top, if it was shared by the library, it'll have that link to the library. But you can search for it on Facebook. Just search for Central Arkansas Library System Nixon, and that'll take you, or it should bring up our particular page. So, and if y'all think of anything that you would like me to cover, I know how to. I'm going to do a knitting class next month, like I did the crocheting one. If you want some more advanced crochet, like more stitches in crochet, I would be happy to teach some more of those if people are interested. I'm always looking for output from the people that watch these programs to see if they're interested in something that maybe I'm not covering. But I do knitting too. I also can spin. I have a spinning wheel, but the best way to teach spinning, if you don't have a spinning wheel, because those are expensive, is with a drop spindle. So if something like that sounds interesting to you, be sure to like comment on this particular video. If it's over with, you can comment on it and I'll see it. Or you can private message the library Facebook page also. Just say, I would like to see this in the Crafting with Opal programs, or something like that. I'd be happy to do that too, because we have supplies for drop spindles too. We could probably give some of those away for that program if y'all would want to do that. I'd be happy. We've got, I think, quite a few supplies still, because we've done that in the library before. And weaving, we could maybe possibly do weaving. I'm not real sure. I'd have to look at the supplies for that one and see if we still have some. But yeah, anything y'all crafting wise you're interested in, I might know how to do it, and I'd be happy to figure out how to teach it if you're interested in seeing it. So just let us know, and we'll try to do it for you. So if there's not any more questions, I will see y'all tomorrow during my sewing class if you're interested in sewing. In that one, I'm going to cover a lot of different ways of doing seams. I didn't think about, but for beginners, I think that would be something interesting. I actually got a book and looked and saw that there's a lot of different ways of doing seams. So I'm going to kind of cover that in the class tomorrow and see if anyone has any other questions about other stuff. Okay, well, I'll see y'all tomorrow, or I'll see you next week on Thursday again for doing the lanyard. So next time, so until next time, I get tongue-tied when I'm this tired. Alright, bye, see y'all later.